Okay, so let's have a look at the first criteria. So creating learning experiences. So 3.5.
Yay!
3.5 because like you just said, you collaborated with your teacher to find out what the children already know. You're working with the TAs in the class to help you do assessments and guide groups. You're going to collaborative planning meetings and you're using that information like their current UOI, the central idea, sharing the planet, you're bringing all this into your own planning. So you're really collaborating with all of the other staff and you're using this information. That's the important part. You're actually using it and you're making appropriate lesson plans based on all of the information available. So in terms of collaborating and creating meaningful experiences, you're pretty much there. Now we can start to think about other ways that we can make it a little more meaningful. So something that you could maybe have considered today even was language learning goals like speaking, listening, reading, writing, viewing, presenting. So in that part, that's where you score higher. And you are doing your weekly planning. So you're using the planners. So I think if you can just now look at the big picture, consider your timing, the content of the class a little more carefully, then that will up your score. Okay? Because timing, I think, has been a consistent issue, which, it's nice that you're trying to fit a lot into your class to give the children an opportunity to learn more, but I think some children, if they try and take in too much, they're going to get lost and they can't absorb all of this information. So if you think about your week, think about how you're going to use that time to allow the children to reach their goal, but reach it in a way that they actually are able to reach it without being overwhelmed and having too much information thrown at them. So again, I think we've discussed in the past simplifying your lessons a little. Maybe we can try and do this in the future and just have really clear objectives where you just focus on one or two key points or concepts. Like today, I would have focused more on sharing. But that said, you did write the objective on the board, the rainbow fish, which is good because you reflected on last week. Now you just need to make the objectives a little clearer at the beginning of class. So I like the fact you went through the word, you went through, the children know that they're learning about the rainbow fish. Now you need to link that with the concept of today's goal. So today we're going to be looking at the rainbow fish, and we're going to see how the rainbow fish likes to share, or how the rainbow fish feels about sharing. So just kind of get that word in there, because that's the key part of your goal from today, sharing, and just get that objective nice and clear at the beginning of class, and then focus on it. So a little more practical. Use real life examples, especially things which will relate to the children. You could have almost given the children a host of objects, or you could have given one child a host of objects and they could have taken on the role of the rainbow fish, and they could have, instead of shedding the scales, then they could be shedding like classroom materials. Like they go around the class and they give children a glue stick, give them a pencil, and that's their way of making it real life. They could have had a box of pencils and they represent the scales, and that is how they make a real life connection to the concept that you're teaching, and it's all focused on that word sharing. But that said, this could be something you might want to consider for next time. You might want to think about.
That's a good one. I was thinking about that, and I brought my little teddy bear.
I saw you had your teddy bear, which is great.
And I should have had the kids do it, right? Like, why would I have to do it? If they have there's stationery like pencils, markers. They know that they can share. I should have the kids. You're right.
I think
I should have the kids do it because in group work I realize, and like you said, tomorrow I can definitely do this, make it more interactive. And in my team, the kids who are in the advanced group, they told me like I can share a pencil when we're writing that sentence, and I said perfect.
Yeah.
Because you do get this is sharing.
Yeah.
And in a group setting that you do know you have to share. So like you said, I should do this.
This gives them the opportunity, and also give the children an opportunity to talk together. Because I think in your classes sometimes, I mean, it's great that you ask lots of questions. You know, you encourage the children to inquire and they ask questions. But I think the child-to-child interactions could be, increased, because that way they can, most of the time they are going to be talking with each other, especially when it comes down to sharing. And you can maybe introduce some of the key words or sentences like, may I borrow? Can I have? Are you using? So all of these, key sentences and phrases are things that if they're using them and they're saying them every day, then, they're not always going to be asking the teacher, they're going to be asking each other. So if you can get them talking to each other from the offset, then that will help to reinforce this idea. And then it will become hopefully second nature. But you did use the little teddy bear though, which is great, because that's making it real, and it's something that was is linked to the concept.
Yeah.
Okay. So
because last week you told me that I should have something like reality or manipulative where they can see it and touch it, so the kinesthetic learners can just touch it instead of saying the sentences or looking at the video. They're actually doing some hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
So that's and then like in different groups they have flashcards.
Yeah.
To kind of think about what they want to share. So yeah.
I also think, maybe not in this class, but in the future, let the children take a little bit more responsibility for the resources that they're going to be using. Because that will then let them realize that instead of the teacher just giving them the resources, somebody has to take responsibility and actually use the concept of sharing in action. They have to realize maybe to begin with, they'll all go to grab the resources, but maybe one of the children might say, oh, actually, we should share. So give them the opportunity to use what they're learning. And this comes down to planning, the resources and how you make those resources available. How are those resources accessible? So this comes down to your planning. How are you going to plan your classroom environment, your table environment? So just, try and consider in your planning do the children have enough opportunity to use this concept? And are they using it independently, or is it still more teacher directed?
Okay.
But that said, it's a good starting point. Okay. Planning instruction. So three for this one, because you are using clear concepts. You did set objectives and goals, especially in your planning. You had clear objectives and goals. You had the scope and sequence learning goals. Now you just need to kind of put it into practice a little more. Again, the pacing of the class, I think we need to reflect in our planning. Maybe, we need to replan. Maybe think about replanning this class and seeing what you would omit, what you would maybe replace, how you would change it. But overall, the lesson objectives and the goals are realistic for the children, and the concept is well connected to their UOI, so that's good. And you're including assessments to bring it all together, which will inform future planning. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially with the assessments, I think, you are using formative assessments, and they are, being well thought of. They're being well constructed.
I think this week I included the title. So last week you gave me really good advice on including the learning objective and then what's the learning outcome. And also last time I realized the teachers have to mark a lot of the criteria, which is time consuming. So this week I just asked them to give a score. And I had the different learning, I guess, competency on, say, it's like a scale from 0 to 5. So that's also something that I'm applying after I study to teach now and what you told me. And it seems to work. So Miss Judy, when I looked at her assessment form, it worked well. She gave the score and she also included comments.
Great. Yeah, just simplifying it, keeping it simple and using, the combined anecdotal record with the rubric score. It's a good way of doing it. Yeah, and collaborating with your TA, that then frees you up to actually teach and make your own observations. So utilizing all of the tools to your disposal, you're doing this really well, and that's all reflected in your planning. So very good. That's why you scored a 3. Evidence-based instructional strategies, 3. I can see that you're using different research theories like Bloom's taxonomy for critical thinking, the inquiry-based thinking that we promote. You're using that in your classes, using differentiated instruction, using technology. So yeah, I think you're definitely using all of the strategies that you've been learning about. I think next step would be
using it effectively.
And
meeting diverse learning needs.
Yeah, I think again you're making a good start to try and use them, but I think now we have to make them effective. Making them effective. But again, I mean, you're definitely showing in your planning as well that you're, trying to accommodate all of your learners and using this evidence-based research to back that up. So, yeah, just trying now to
doing more consistently.
Using it consistently, because I've only recently started observing this, and again, that's just natural because as we go through the program, you pick up more. And you'll have a chance to apply it and reflect. And that brings us on to adjustments to lesson plans. So 3, based on prior observations, because I know that you always put a lesson plan on my desk, and then 5 minutes later, I have another lesson plan for you.
Right.
So you're...
whoops.
Yeah, but it's not always an omission. It's not because you forgot something. It's because you generally have